Hello again, everybody. It's me, Cindy Jameson, and this week I am super excited because it is dessert week. I fell in love and found my passion for baking at a very early age. I remember I must have been maybe 3 or 4, and my brother and my sister would go off to school, and I'd pull up a stool next to the kitchen counter and just watch my mom bake. And it was just a special time between me and my mom. She gave me some great insights on life that I will always hold near and dear to my heart. So today I'd like to share with you a very special dessert. It's a French-Canadian dessert. It's called Pouding Chomeur, which translates into poor man's pudding. It said that it originated in Quebec when the Prime Minister of Quebec at the time called his wife to let her know he was bringing home guests for dinner, and she went into a frenzy because she had no eggs in the refrigerator, so she didn't know how she was going to make a suitable dessert for her dinner guests. So she went into her pantry and grabbed a whole bunch of ingredients, and this recipe came about. So it's very simple ingredients that you have in your pantry every day, but the results are just so wonderful. And I'm so excited that I was able to incorporate Philadelphia cream cheese into one of my favorite desserts to just make it that much more incredible. First thing we'll want to do is to preheat our oven to 350 degrees. I like using one of these clear cake pans so you can see the wonderful syrup that's going to be at the bottom and the cake that's going to be on top. In my pan I have 1 tablespoon of butter. To that I'm going to add 1.5 cups of hot water. I just boil the water in my kettle and then I pour it in here. So you want 1.5 cups of that. And that'll help melt the butter in there. And to that we want to add 1.5 cups of brown sugar. And 1/3 of a cup of pure organic. Well, today I'm using organic. If you don't have organic, that's fine. But I'm using pure organic maple syrup. So just throw that all in there. And we're going to throw that on the burner over you know how there's a little vent in your stove when you turn the oven on to let some of the heat out? We'll just put it on that burner. Everything will just melt. And by the time we're ready to pour the batter over top, we'll just give it a quick stir and it'll be ready. Now let's get started on our cake batter. In my bowl I have 1/4 cup of cream cheese that's been softened to room temperature. And I'm just going to cream that together with 3/4 of a cup of white sugar. The reason this is one of my favorite recipes is that my mom would often make it when we had guests, when my grandparents would come over, or aunts and uncles. And this is a pretty special recipe because it's been passed down for at least 3 generations that I know of. My great-grandmother passed it down to my grandmother, and my grandmother passed it to my mother, and now I'm making it in the hopes of passing it to my children when they get older. To our cream cheese and sugar, we want to add 1/4 cup of melted butter, about 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Like I said at the beginning, this is a very economical recipe because it doesn't use eggs. and it can get you out of a pinch if, say, you have company that comes over unexpectedly. So, to my cream cheese butter sugar mixture, I'm going to add 1 cup of milk. Next, I'm going to be adding 2 cups of white flour. But before I add it in there, I'm going to mix in 3 teaspoons of baking powder. Just going to use my fingers. So now we're just going to pour in our batter. Now you don't want to pour it all into a big lump in the middle, so kind of just slowly pour it around the pan, just to make sure that the batter is even and we don't have parts of our cake that are super thick and then others that are nice and thin. And that way it'll cook evenly as well. Now don't worry if it's not smooth. Once the baking powder activates in the oven, it'll all smooth out and you'll have a beautiful looking cake in the end. And now it's ready for the oven. So you're going to bake this for about 20 to 30 minutes depending. After 20 minutes I usually start checking with a toothpick inserted straight into the middle. If there's a bit of moisture at the end when you pull the toothpick out, that's fine. That means it's ready. But if there's too much moisture all along the toothpick, you want to bake it for another about 10 minutes, I would say. So while our cake is baking, I'm going to be making a wonderful Philly cream cheese topping to go on top when it comes out of the oven. And I'm going to be using a 1/4 cup of Philadelphia cream cheese. And to that I'm going to add, I'd say maybe a tablespoon of brown sugar. I just want to mimic some of the flavors from in the syrup. And just a touch of maple syrup. Let's say about a tablespoon as well. To our yummy maple brown sugar cream cheese, I'm going to be adding about, let's say, 1/2 cup of our yummy, fluffy marshmallow fluff. We just want to fold that together. We don't want the fluff to lose its airiness. We're just going to spoon this over our nice warm cake with wonderful syrup on the bottom. And it's just going to melt and get all nice and ooey and gooey. Doesn't that look good? Doesn't that look awesome? Look at that. You can see the syrup right here, and then the cake on top. All you want to do is take a nice big serving spoon and just cut right into it. And you'll just put that on your plate. Oh, it smells so delicious. And then I like to spoon a little bit of the syrup around the edge so I can scoop them up with every bite of cake that I take. And then I'm going to take a dollop of our brown sugar cream cheese marshmallow fluff and just put that on there. So thanks for joining me tonight while I shared one of my French-Canadian favorites that I grew up with, having jazzed it up with some Philadelphia cream cheese. But now I'm going to go sit down with a nice cup of tea, my piece of Pouding Chomeur, and enjoy some TV. Have a good night. A wonderful, wonderful French-Canadian dessert that I am so happy to be sharing with you today.